And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of JMU Sound Off. I am Jonathan McNamara coming to you from Richmond, Virginia, Season 3, Episode 2 on tap for tonight. We've got a big show. We've got Chauncey Logan and Cam Ross from the current roster of JMU Football. Going to do a little bit of a recap on how camp has been going through 2 weeks and get a preview of what's to come as the Dukes head towards Game 1 against Charlotte in just a few weeks. And then we're going to look back at the 2004 National Championship team. We've got a reflective group for a roundtable. We're going to go back and look at some of those key moments in the 2004 season and then look at, from their perspective, how this program has grown. So if any of you who were there for that 04 season, this is the team that was the foundation that this current group of players is really built off of. So really excited to look back at that as we head towards the Hall of Fame induction for the 2004 National Championship team. I'm going to do a quick plug, though, for those who want to learn a little bit more about this 04 group. A great book by James Irwin called Midnight in Chattanooga. It's got the full story behind the rise of JMU football. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. As always, we want to mention our sponsors right off the top, the Montpelier Collective. This was a big week for the collective. Not only was some great content shot on campus, again, trying to highlight some of the faces behind the collective, as well as some of the players who are now Montpelier Collective athletes. But this was the week we revealed Champions Drive, the bourbon that is the official bourbon of the Montpelier Collective. Not only is this going to be a product that is going to enhance tailgates this fall, but every bottle that is purchased will go to support the mission of the Montpelier Collective. And I can say, as somebody who has spent a lot of time on campus this summer talking with our coaches, one thing is consistent regardless of what coach you talk to, the work of the collective, making sure our coaches have the resources they need to ensure the JMU is competitive at the top of the Sun Belt and the national landscape really depends on your support. So this is a great way that you can give back to the collective while also getting a great product, a really high quality product built by JMU grads for the JMU community. We're going to be touching base with those two JMU creators of the bourbon, as well as Joe Shoker this week in a special episode on the 13th. We're going to get into the tastings and the quality of this product, but we wanted to let you know that if you want to be one of the first to be able to purchase one of the 1,200 bottles in this run, you still have time to make a contribution to the Montpelier Collective this week. Those who do make a donation will get a 48-hour window where you will have exclusive opportunity to purchase Champions Drive. So you can do that at MontpelierCollective.com. So again, stay tuned all week. We'll be talking more about the bourbon. Also wanted to recognize our sponsors from Skyline Financial, Where's Woody, Talent Corps, Your Purple Nation, the Your Purple Nation store opening up now for the DC Northern Virginia crew. You have an option now to purchase JMU gear in Northern Virginia, yourpurplenation.com. And then finally, Shoker Enterprises coming on board. And I know Joe Shoker is super excited to talk about Champions Drive. And with that, we're going to bring in the other hosts of tonight's show. We've got Steve Brown, Taylor Atkins, and Michael Evangelista. Guys, another big week of JMU training camp. We're going to talk about some of the news and notes that's happened in training camp when we get to our final thoughts segment. But with that, we're going to go right into our first guest, though. So we'll see you guys in just a few minutes. And our guests tonight, Chauncey Logan and Cam Ross, two of the current members of JMU Football who are making an impact in camp and are poised to be major contributors as we head into the new season. Guys, thanks for taking time out of what I know has been a very busy couple of weeks for you. Chauncey, I'm going to start with you first. We're starting a new segment this week where we're really looking at the community service aspect of the Montpelier Collective. You two both participated this week in a video in support of the Red Cross. And I wanted to ask you just kind of high level, this new world of NIL is giving all of you an opportunity to kind of maximize your brands and to make connections to the community. But starting with you, Chauncey, first, what does it mean to you to now to have the opportunity through the collective to have a real formal way that you can introduce yourself to more nonprofits in the community and really build connections to some of those fans through those nonprofits that come out and support you each and every week in Bridgeport?
It's big. It means a lot. It's always good to get to know the community and have the community get to know you and build bonds with everybody. So we definitely enjoy doing all that stuff.
And Cam, I know you haven't had a chance to as much because you're new to Harrisonburg, but whether it's the Red Cross, the Boys and Girls Club, groups like Habitat for Humanity, there are many groups that you're going to be working with not only this fall, but at other opportunities that the collective is going to set up. Have you given any thought to just the role that you're going to play with your teammates now in building, again, deeper connections to the community by the service aspect of how you work with the collective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was harped on since I got here in January about engaging with the community, whether it was schools or these nonprofits that we've been engaging with lately. And I think it's huge. I love doing stuff like that. I've always been that kind of person. I love helping, and especially just knowing JMU football around the community and just how the fans interact with us. And, we want to be able to interact with them too. And I think, this community is great. I think what we got going is great. And so I'm all for stuff like that.
And then maybe my last question on that aspect is that this is something that Coach Chesney and the staff has really stressed that, one thing that he saw, at least coming into this season, was while the Harrisonburg community really came out and supported JMU football, there wasn't as much of a formal process in place for players to give back. Does that play not only a role in helping you build connections to fans who are going to be coming out, but also does it give you an opportunity to get closer to your teammates through that service? And I'll go to you, Cam, and then we'll chant to you, Chauncey, on the kind of the same question, especially with so many new players coming in here to Harrisonburg.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to bond with your teammates. It's really just about anything we do. We're bonding, and it's a great way to just engage in the community together. And I know I can speak for everyone on the team that, we all enjoy doing things like that. We all enjoy helping the kids or helping whatever organization, that's kind of, that's what we're here for. So, I know the guys enjoy it. I enjoy it. And it's been great.
And Chauncey, somebody who's been a returner on this team with so many new voices here in the locker room, how has that community service aspect allowed you guys to get closer as a team as you move towards game one?
It's been good. Of course, we don't know everybody as well now with everybody new, so it gives us a new way to bond, have fun together, laugh, get to know new people. It's a great way of bonding and getting to know each other better.
Awesome. Michael.
Well, what's up, guys? Well, first off, thank you both for joining us. I know we're in the throes of training camp right now. I think you had your first scrimmage. I think it was last night. So hopefully all things went well. Just had a couple of questions for both of you, if I may. Cam, we'll start with you. I was really excited when I heard you were coming to JMU. I think it was last spring. As many know, I've been covering recruiting for quite a while, and I remember you back in 2019 coming out of Delaware. And I must ask, JMU's got a history of recruiting Delaware really well. We got the Knight brothers on the team. I think Joseph Simmons was all world over in Delaware a couple of years ago coming to high school. Back in 2019, did JMU give you a look at all? Did we pursue you coming out of high school?
No, they didn't. No, I didn't have many coming out of high school, and no, JMU was not one of them. But shoot, definitely blessed to be here now.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about that. How'd you obviously you're here with a former teammate as well. I think Chris Sheeran came from UConn, as well as I think Noah Rulas, the kicker.
Yeah.
What was your journey to JMU? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Delaware, but then I played high school ball in DC for a little bit for my last couple years, and so I was able to get recruited out of there by a few schools, not many, but UConn was one of the main ones that was coming up, and I had a relationship with the coach because he had coached my brothers a little way back when, like 12 years ago maybe, and so at University of Maryland, and so kind of just a little full circle moment. He came and recruited me, and that was a good connection to have at the time. So I ended up going there, and I was able to do my undergrad there, and I was able to make some plays. It was good times and bad times, and then I graduated, and then really I came to a point last year. I just thought it was time to just get a change of scenery and just change locations, and it's not something I'm really new to, due to having to move in high school, and just I'm not new to adapting, and so I was definitely all for it, and definitely coming to Bridgeforth last year during the season, and just getting a little sneak peek of how we get down here, and just the atmosphere and the team, and just winning, honestly. And so after a while, I ended up making that move due to help of a lot of people, and it's been working out so far.
That's awesome. I know many of us are excited to see you on the field here in a couple of weeks. Tell us a little bit more about that game, right? You had 4 catches, 91 yards. You had a long catch for, I think, 44 that game. I think many of us remember that very well. What was it like playing against JMU and Bridgeforth that day?
Yeah, well, it wasn't fun. We was getting whooped, and so I'll be lying if I said I enjoyed it. But I mean, it was shoot. I mean, looking back at it now, it was definitely cool, and like I definitely appreciate full circle moments like that, and it's like stuff I was walking by past like back then that like I walk by now, and it's like I think to myself like how I'm here, and I'm definitely blessed to be here. But no, during that time in November, it was not fun. We was playing a good team, and but yeah, no, just now I'm here and I'm with the Dukes for sure.
Awesome. Well, I know we're super excited. It looks like you're blending in with the team really well, and excited to see you kick things off. I think it's August 31st versus Charlotte. So happy to have you here. Chauncey, yeah, man. Chauncey, wanted to turn it over to you for a little bit. I think last year everyone kept talking about the run defense and how amazing they were, and they couldn't run on JMU, but they had to really keep the corners on an island. I think we were blitzing from all different angles and whatnot. Tell us a little bit, what was it like to play on an island in that defense last year, and what was your experience overall?
It was definitely challenging, but it is fun. It was still football. It was a challenge. They trusted us and believed in us to make plays, so it ended up working out overall. But it's definitely different than what it is now, and how we attack the game and how we game plan.
I believe it. I remember, I think it was like the South Alabama game, and then I think like Georgia Southern, like their quarterbacks like limping every time they're dropping back to pass in the third quarter, and you guys are just swatting balls left and right, just in one-on-one situations. It was really awesome to see. Without like sharing any details, obviously, like any competitive advantage, like what can JMU Nation expect out of you, out of the DB room this year, just with the new scheme in place?
It should be exciting. We're very deep, very athletic in the back end. Got guys in nickel, corner, safety, and we're all starting to gel together better as the days go on. A couple new guys came in from the most recent transfer portal, so older guys, and everybody's learning the playbook pretty well, and should be fun, exciting. Maybe not as much pressure, but it'll be more turnovers. We'll say that.
That's awesome. Do you feel like it's a cool opportunity to learn from some of these folks? I know they brought in a lot of fourth and fifth year guys that played a lot of football and meaningful games. Like, have you all had a chance to like share each other experience, give each other feedback on the field?
Yeah, definitely. Always, every day, especially with the older guys, they have a lot more seasons under their belt, whether they're watching, playing. But it's definitely good to learn from each other and see how we're seeing different things from different positions, and see how we can help each other out better.
That's awesome. Last question for you, Chauncey. I remember when during the recruiting process, we were all impressed with your size and length coming into the DB room. In the offseason, tell us a little bit about like what was your one area of improvement, or one area that you were looking to really hone in your skills coming into the season?
I was trying to get a little bit faster. Definitely my speed. I got cut up a little bit more. Took some more body fat down, but those were the two main things.
Awesome. Thank you. Off to you, Taylor.
All right. Well, guys, I'm excited to talk to y'all tonight. I know you are two of the preseason kind of fan favorites. A lot of fan favorites on this team, but you two are definitely one of them, or two of them. Chauncey, obviously, a player that has come here, stayed here, had a lot of success early on. I know a lot of folks were excited to see you come back to JMU. And Cam, again, as Michael said, people are very familiar with your success at UConn. We saw it here in person. And so, you guys are two guys that a lot of fans are looking forward to hearing from. Chauncey, I'll just kind of kick it off with you. I'm down here in Botetourt. People get annoyed of me bringing that up all the time, but I love it because I love Southwest Virginia. And I just wanted to highlight your success coming from Salem High School, 10 state championships for that program. You were there for one of them, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited to highlight any Southwest Virginia talent when I get a chance. Tell me a little bit about, fans are obviously really in this era of NIL, transfer portal stuff. Fans love to kind of hear some insights. So whatever you're comfortable sharing, would love to hear kind of your experience with the transfer portal and ultimately your decision to stay at JMU.
The transfer portal is interesting. kind of weird how it works. It's another recruitment basically.
Right.
And there were a couple of different schools recruiting me and showing me what about their school, but I already knew JMU and I knew what JMU came with. And when we brought in Coach Ches, he definitely showed that he knew what he was talking about, and he had a good winning background. Hired Coach Witt as the cornerbacks coach. That helped as well. That was always my dog. We're very close. He knows. He's just like us. Just he's done it before. A little more mature than us, and knows how to relay information to us a lot in different ways and make everything work. So I feel like it was the most beneficial situation for me to be in if I were to stay here.
Well, I think this
made the right choice.
Go ahead.
Good.
I was going to say the soundbite that I think that kind of wrapped it up. I think it was a post-practice when you were being interviewed in the end zone and you said JMU is still JMU, and there's a lot of benefits to being here. You kind of reiterated that. So I also, as we talk about preseason camp, a lot of new faces, obviously, on the defense. We've had a couple of them already on the show this year. But if there's anyone that you think JMU fans should kind of be on the lookout for this year that they may not be as familiar with, would love to hear if you want to give any shout outs or something for fans to kind of be looking for.
All the transfers are good. You'll see a lot of new faces. We're very deep and athletic in different ways, fast guys, guys that can jump, smart guys. It's a whole lot of different personalities and talents in the back end now, and you should be excited.
I think that's probably the best way you can answer that when that's a difficult question to answer. So I think that makes everyone feel pretty good. Cam, coming to you real quick. We kind of talked a little bit pre-show about coming to JMU and kind of some of the differences from UConn. You were talking about how much you love the campus. Would just love to hear kind of some of your first impressions coming to Harrisonburg, being at JMU, and just some of the things that you've enjoyed about your first few months here.
Yeah, I mean, when I went on that exit, like exit 245, I think, and turned on campus, and then the first thing I saw was the big lake, and I saw the stadium in the back, and I already was like, no, that's impressive. That's impressive, and that's just to me, that's just the epitome of just like the school, and then like you walk on campus, and then it's just like everything about it, just it's a good vibe here, and I've definitely enjoyed my time here so far, and I enjoy it even more when the season gets kicked off. But I mean, and the guys in the locker room, they've made it so easy to transition, and the coaches as well, and just it's a great community here, and it has me wondering what it was like the last few years. While I was doing my undergrad somewhere else, but I mean, definitely blessed to have been there, and then I'm blessed to be here now. So I mean, it's been a good experience.
And you mentioned kind of before the show also, this was the first time you had been in the dormitory and kind of having everyone together for that preseason camp.
Yeah. That brought back some flashbacks for me. I haven't been in dorm since 2020, I think. So
I kind of want to ask just kind of two of the questions that I asked Chauncey. First of all, would love to hear your experience navigating the transfer portal. Obviously, just what you really want to share about, but fans are obviously, this is a new thing for them. A lot of the folks playing the new college football game would love any pointers on what they should be putting their hours into when recruiting players. But seriously, what was your experience like? And then ultimately, what led you to Coach Chesney and his coaching style to come to JMU?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer portal, it could be a scary place for sure. And it feels like you're lost in the middle of an ocean sometimes, if you don't have nowhere to go. You can't go back, and then you're still trying to figure out where you need to go. So you kind of stuck in the middle while navigating all that. And like Duke said, it's just another recruiting process. So I mean, I was just navigating it as level-headed as I could, and being appreciative of whatever came. But I mean, I always had JMU kind of in the back of my mind, just somewhere I would like to go. And so it ended up working out. And I'm just trying to take advantage of every day, really, every snap I can get.
All right. And then the last thing I kind of want to just answer, it may be a difficult question for you to answer as well, But again, with all the new faces, would love to hear kind of some of your insight on some of the players JMU fans need to be looking out for on the offense this year.
Yeah, I think Deuce hit it on the head, man. Everybody, all the coaches hit it on the money with this recruiting class. You know, whether it was transfers, freshmen, or whatever, and you know, so these last 8 months we just been molding this team together, trying to add pieces and just put people in the right spot, and wherever everybody can be successful at, where this team can be successful at, that's what we want to roll out with on August 31st. So I mean, it's been well, and I mean, we still got a long way to go, so we just working right now.
So basically what you're saying is teams that want to just prepare for one dimension of this offense are going to be in a bad place come the end of the game.
For sure.
All right. Well, I'll kick it over to John.
Awesome. I just have to say, Cam, if you're as good at the kind of the RPO and the streak run for the receiver across the end as you are in the video game, we're gonna have one hell of a season, because I think you were like number 3 in the Heisman for me in my last season. So I have high hopes. Last thing for me, I just wanted to ask, give fans a little insight on what it was like to be in the scrimmage last night under the lights. An opportunity now, 2 scrimmages you're going to get under the lights at Bridgeport. Did it maybe make you feel like you're getting closer to game 1, especially knowing game 1 is going to be a night game at Charlotte? Go to you first, Chauncey.
It was definitely good. It was fun. It's been a little bit since we actually got the hit and go against each other. It was very high level competition. A little bit.
Chauncey, did you guard any routes against Cam last night?
I don't think so. I might have been on zone.
Okay.
In the zone coverage when he was around my side, but I don't think we went on one-on-one.
No press on the line.
Nah, not yet.
That's next week,
right?
And what about you, Cam? How was last night's scrimmage? And did you get the itch now, feeling like you're getting closer to game 1?
Yeah, no, I felt good, and we definitely appreciate Coach Ches for just trying to get us adjusted to that night mode and you know, get that feel going under the lights. So it felt good. It's been a while since I've been under the lights, and it's always just a different feel when you're playing football at night, man. So it was a fun time last night. We was able to just have good competition and just do what we've been doing the past 11 days or so. So I mean, yeah, we got some practices this week and another scrimmage, and we're gonna get rolling.
There you go. All right, guys, my last thing, give you an opportunity to give your message to fans. And then also in this era of NIL, where can people learn or follow you on social media and get to know a little bit about more of your brands? Because I know both of you are pretty active on social media. Start with you, Chauncey.
I'm at Chauncey Logan Jr. on everything. Exactly how it's spelled, just no spaces on all platforms.
There you go. Cam?
Yeah, I'm Cam Ross 7 on just about anything. And an underscore before the name on most of them, really all of them probably. So yeah, underscore Cam Ross 7.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. And we just want to say, again, as we do to every one of the players who comes on here, thank you for all the sacrifices you make. We know that a lot of goes in to getting you ready for game days on Saturday, and you guys sacrifice a lot, both physically, mentally, as well as what you give up on the sides to make sure that you're at your peak performance each and every week. And it gives us something to talk about. And I know all of us as fans are going to be doing our part to help you guys be as successful as possible. So good luck with the rest of the camp. Wish you guys health, and we'll be excited to see you when we make our trip down to Charlotte and for the rest of the games as we go throughout the season.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
Awesome. And with that, our next segment, this is an exciting one for any of us who were around for the 2004 season. I know that was the team that really started it all for many of us in the JMU universe. And we wanted to look back. And now as we're approaching the 20th anniversary of the 2004 National Championship team, they will be inducted in the Hall of Fame this fall. We've had a chance to talk with head coach Mickey Matthews from that era during the summer, as well as a conversation with Mike Schickman and some others. But tonight we wanted to bring on a group of some of these players. And for those of you who are around, you're going to be familiar with many of the names tonight. And with that, our producer is going to bring them all on as a group for hopefully what should be a fun discussion. Up first, Bruce Johnson. We've got Matt Lezotte. We've got Isai Bradshaw, as well as, sorry, I'm coughing. Isai Bradshaw, who's on screen now? Bruce Johnson's on screen. Rodney McCarter is on screen as well. It was a little bit of a delay here. We're having some storms, so our Wi-Fi is a little out. Gentlemen, thanks for taking some time. It has to be fun for you guys to hear some of the conversations with the current Dukes. Probably a little bit of a blast or pass, give you guys a chance to remember what it was like when you were in camp. I'm going to start because there are some new fans who are unfamiliar with the team. So I'm going to go left to right. We'll start with you, Bruce, and then everybody go around. Bruce, introduce yourself, your position that you played in 04, and give fans a little bit of insight into what you're doing now in life.
All right. Bruce Johnson from Atlanta, Georgia. I live out in Elkhorn, Nebraska now. Work as a financial consultant and do a lot of travel softball coaching. Used to coach high school football, but now that my daughter's kind of a little bit more heavily involved in travel, just focusing on softball now. And that is literally my entire life now. So that's what I've been up to the last few years.
Awesome. Matt, we'll go to you next.
Matt Lezotte. I'm play quarterback at James Madison, and currently I'm a high school football coach down in Georgia. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, but we currently down in a little south of Savannah in a city called Richmond Hill. Work with my brother Tony, who's also a JMU Duke, and so and that takes up all of our time coaching big boy ball down here in Georgia, man.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Rod, we'll go to you next, man.
Oh, hey, my name is Rodney McCarter. Played cornerback and safety at JMU 2001, 2004. Now reside in North Carolina doing public safety like I always been. Everybody know that. Just me and the family down here. I appreciate y'all having us on. Thank you.
Awesome. And last but not least, Isaiah.
Isai Bradshaw from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Currently, right now, I'm an insurance agent, a personal lines insurance agent, still in Harrisonburg, Virginia now. Been doing that for a little bit and also helping coach with Coach Gillenwater that was on the staff in 04 over at Harrisonburg High School.
All right, guys. Well, to start the conversation, I wanted to ask each of you, that season for some people came out of nowhere, but for others, it was a season that you could kind of see the building blocks starting to be put in place. The 2003 season, the way it ended. I want to start to go kind of the same order as before. Is starting with you, Bruce. When did you think you might have had something in that season? Did you know in training camp, or did it take you a few games before you realized, hey, this is a team that could be a force to be reckoned with at that time in the Atlantic 10? Especially as you started to go through the season and stack up on some wins and move towards what was a magical run. But when did you first know that there was something different happening in that season?
I honestly think it kind of started that spring going into the 04 before we got to training camp. It was just, you could see that the pieces kind of started to really fall into place. Guys that really started to grow up quite a bit because from 01 forward, we had a bunch of young guys playing, and you could just see that maturation taking place on the field during that spring.
And then to you, Matt, obviously, Matt, your role obviously changed a little bit. It's been well documented for bringing in Justin Riscotti and the decision you made to continue to be an incredible leader for this team. When did it kind of click for you, but also as you kind of watched Justin's evolution in his role and as you changed to being a little bit more behind the scenes, but still up front in terms of your leadership role in the team?
Well, I tell you, a lot of it happened behind the scenes. Just conversations with guys as we were going through the process of where we were, knowing that this was something special that we could do and accomplish, and egos weren't going to get in the way of that. Nothing was going to get in the way of that. And like Bruce said, like you could feel it in the spring. You could feel it when we were working out and we were training, and the competitive drive that we had. Everybody was just dialed in. I think it sucked the pains that we went through those years leading up to 2004. A lot of us played as freshmen and we didn't need to be playing as freshmen, and played as sophomores and we probably didn't need to be playing as sophomores, and then then you grow up and you get a little bit older and you start to see things unfold. And now it's just a great supporting cast of everybody pulling in the same direction, and the power of cohesiveness really showed that fall.
Rod, we'll go to you next.
I wanted to chime in real quick. Oddly enough, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, Jonathan, or Matt touched on it about the leadership. Isaiah and I were literally having this conversation. What was it, like a week or two ago?
Yeah.
About how huge Matt's leadership role was on that team, with the dynamic changing drastically with Justin coming in. And it could have been very easy for Matt to get really caught in his feelings about that, because Matt took some bumps and bruises. Like so most of you guys don't know this, but I played offense before I switched over to defense. And like when I say Matt was the unfortunate beneficiary of a very young offensive line, like, you know, for Justin to come in and like our line was beast that year. And just to think that, you know, the beating that Matt took in his, you know, earlier in his career, he could have been really, really salty about that situation. And he really, like, that showed, you know, the type of person Matt was, to kind of take that in stride and still be a very visible and vocal leader on the team, with somebody else kind of coming in, taking the helm.
Rod, your kind of thoughts on that? Because I know that was something that even at the time I was a Breeze sports reporter covering the team. You know, there were a lot of storylines around how that whole quarterback controversy went. But Matt, your leadership is something that I think every conversation I've had with a fan of that era, it's probably one of the first things they bring up, is just what you meant to this program. And I'm curious to hear your perspective on it as well, Rod, and the same with Isaiah, is because this is one of those things that when you look back on this team, it could have gone easily in a different direction, but really spoke to this group staying together. And Matt was really the one leading the torch in that season in that capacity.
Yeah, because after our 03 season, I think the team realized that we can play. Like, we all grew up playing college football together. We were all playing together 02, 01, 03. And I think after that 03 season, we went, 5-7? And there were some games during that season where we were like, we should have won those games and been above 500. We knew we were pretty good, even with Matt. So going into the 04 season, all of us being seniors, all of us playing together, all of us hanging out together, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, like, we knew something special was going to happen in 04. We just didn't know to the extent. And speaking of Matt, I will say, when we saw Justin, and I love Matt. Y'all know I love Matt. But our first pass scale with Justin Riscotti, we were like, oh, Matt's going to have a little competition.
Yeah.
So we didn't know. We never said anything. We didn't know how the coaches was going to handle it. We knew they were bringing Justin in. We knew Justin could play. We knew Justin was young. But we applauded Matt that whole season because we know it was tough. Like, after the West Virginia game, we knew that was a tough decision they had to make. And they were trying to tell us about splitting reps and all that. We knew they had their mind made up way before that, but that's just coaches speak. But the way Matt handled it that season, I mean, you can't do nothing but appreciate him for that. And he had our back through the whole season. And we knew if something happened to Justin, Matt was ready to go. Yeah. And that kept us at ease at all times.
Isai, do you?
I mean, for me, I'd say, I mean, I'll talk with this with Bruce too, and I've probably told this story many a times with him. Like, I just remember having an inside period in camp in the summer, and I didn't have a great inside period. And then Kwynn Walton just came right over to me and was like, hey, I don't know what you're going through right now, what you got going on, but you need to stay locked in, like, right now. So to me, it was just like, that senior class was just like, look, we're going to hold everybody accountable for what's going on this field, no matter what part of practice it's in. Like, everybody's going to be held accountable to do their part. So to me, it was just like, you know what, I got to turn it up. And even though I got moved from linebacker to defensive end that year, I had to turn it up, you know. So I was just like, there's a lot of guys depending on me. We had a whole senior class that, you know, went through that 2-9 season, that 5-7 season, that 6-6 season, knowing that we were right there, you know, and just needed a little bit extra to kind of get over the hump. And, you know, it's just those little things, those little small turnovers, that couple inches to make that tackle, you know, that's what we needed to get over the top. And then just greatly, we were well prepared for that in 04.
Well, you know what a number of folks don't realize, and well, I'll make you guys feel old. My daughter was 12 in 2004, and my son was 8. She's 32 and he's 28.
Jeez.
So both have kids of their own. I'm sitting here at the beach in Sandbridge and I've got 3 grandchildren running around. So I know I'm old, but you guys are old, so you can join the old.
Feels great.
And I'm gonna say this, like Mickey, like and just to put it on my side, Mickey was looking for talent across the board. He brought in a safety from Notre Dame. He brought in wide receivers. He was just looking to get better that year. So it's not just a thing on Matt. I mean, the quarterback position, you look at it as, you know, the most popular position. But yeah, when Mickey brought in that safety from Notre Dame, I was looking at Mick like, yo, like what are you doing, man? Like, so I knew I had to step my game up as well. But yeah, he was just trying to get better.
Yeah, we had a transfer in from Tennessee too. Yeah, we had some guys come in. You're right.
And that was unusual in 2004. See, I don't think people remember. You didn't get very many people that transferred in. And so he did bring in 3 or 4 at that time, which I remember shaking my head thinking, what the hell are you doing? Because none of us understood that you'd bring in 4 or 5 transfers. And it was, but the fact that you guys have already talked about how you gelled, let me get a little bit to that. I'm going to go around the horn and ask you guys about the Delaware game, because that's the one to me. I mean, you all had a lot of close games. It reminds me a lot of the season that was last season. You know, but for us having the rain delay at University of Virginia, I don't think we win that game last season. The rain delay was great. We come out, we win it, we go to Troy, and then we win 10 games in a row. You guys had the same thing in 2004. I mean, the West Virginia game was the anomaly, but God, you were in fights every freaking week with every team. So let's get to the Delaware game. To me, was the bellwether for you all. Let me start with Matt and just talk about, well, I'll start with Bruce. Bruce is at the top of my screen, and I'll go around. Tell me about what your thoughts were going into Delaware and kind of what your thoughts were during that game, because to me, they were the beast of the FCS in that year. It wasn't us until we won it, but tell me what you think.
They were beast. I vividly remember like their size on the offensive line. Like their offensive line looked like an NFL offensive line across the board. They had big, strong, fast receivers. I think they had 1 or 2 guys that transferred from USC. Mm-hmm. They were formidable. Big, strong kids. They had, was that Omar Cuff's junior season?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, after a couple years of him lighting us up, they were stacked at the running back position. We knew it was going to be a dogfight, and we were going to have to make some plays and find a way to grit it out. And, that's kind of how that game ended up playing out. But I definitely think the Delaware game kind of put everybody else on campus on notice that this engine was headed in the right direction. I honestly think it almost came a little bit sooner when I kind of felt that there was going to be a lot of momentum behind what we were doing was the Villanova game. I vividly remember being in the locker room. And I think there's a hurricane rolling through the East Coast, and they wanted to delay and I thought about this because you talked about the rain delay at UVA. They wanted to delay the game to kind of allow the storm to pass. And I remember Coach Matthews came into the locker room and asked us, hey, they want to delay it. What do you guys want to do? And we are like, no, let's get to it. Like, we're ready to go give them something like right now. And that's what we did. That was a shutout win against Villanova. And I think at that point, I think we all knew we truly started to know that we had something special brewing.
Yeah, that Villanova team was a top 5 team. I mean, that was not a slouch team. And to play them up there, now that's when Talley was, had those guys humming. I mean, that was a huge win. A lot of people don't, if you didn't follow it and you look back on the record now and you're like, well, they beat them 17-0. They must have sucked. They didn't suck. That was a really, really good Villanova
team. They were solid.
Matt, let me ask you about Delaware. I'll go to Matt next, and we'll talk a little bit about Delaware, and then I'll keep going.
Well, I think the Delaware game, from an offensive player perspective, it was very frustrating. I don't think we could get anything going. I think it goes back to the grit that we installed in the offseason, the cohesiveness that we had as a team. We just stayed in the fight, right? Like it didn't matter how good, how bad it got. The peaks and valleys, there was not a big difference between the two, and so we were able to just stay in and big special teams play and able to do some things and come out of there with a win. I don't think that we played as well as they did that day, but if I remember correctly, but it doesn't matter. When you're a really good football team, you find a way to win, and we did that a handful of times. It goes back to that Villanova game. It's something is just being able to run the football and hand the ball off in some weather situations like that. It's when you can tackle it up and folks can't move the ball on you on the ground and you just find a way to win. And I think that's what we did in really both of those games. But a lot of it has to do with these guys that are sitting around, getting out, staying dialed in, making sure that they're able to stay focused on what their job and the task was. And I think the coaches did a great job of keeping us in the fight.
Have y'all looked at the stats on that game? You probably haven't looked at them. I'm going to remind you what they were. It's an unbelievable game. I mean, Delaware outgained us by 300 yards. Yeah. They had 466. We had 166.
200 plus came on the ground. I remember that vividly.
Well, it was 174 rushing yards by them and 292 through the air. We scored the first touchdown in the first quarter, and then and then the block punt is what kind of does this to them. I mean, we have the run back on the punt return, which is the most famous thing that has it set up, and then we beat them 20-13. I mean, that was just a dogfight. But let me go over to Isaiah. What do you remember from the Delaware game as well?
I mean, unfortunately, I was a spectator of that game because I was hurt. But what I remember a lot about that game is just us being able to play complementary football. We was able. Granted, they were running the ball, they were throwing the ball, but the one thing they didn't do was cross the goal line.
They didn't score. Yeah,
we was able to. Bruce was able to get an interception. Trey Townsend was able to get an interception. Cortez was able to get an interception. Then we block a punt. I mean, you look at us being able to adapt in all three phases. And when things are not going exactly well for the offense, we're not hanging our heads. We're just going on the field, and somebody's got to make a play. And I think that's what the thing we had on defense is just like somebody's got to make a play, and we had guys that wanted to make a play. And then we stepped up and was able to do that. I mean, and you look at our running back that we have with Raymond Hines in there, just, that's our third string guy at that time, in all of our eyes, us knowing on the team, Raymond Hines is not a third string running back, but we had two other good running backs on that team on that time as well. But for him to be able to get in there and fight and do what he does, it was just phenomenal for him to be able to do that, as a third string guy. But he was just, he was great. Yeah, Ray didn't practice like he was third string. I can tell you that right now.
Do y'all remember the looks in their eyes? Because I could see it. And I don't know what you all saw on the field. By the third quarter, midway through the third quarter, they were arguing with each other on the sidelines and shaking their heads, and they were starting to spiral. Did you all see that on the field?
I was too busy gasping for air. I just remember the absolutely insane amount of snaps we had to play on defense, and I was tired. So I wasn't really worried about them arguing on the sideline. I was hoping I think they have oxygen on the sideline now for these guys, don't they? That would have been definitely useful back then because
no question.
That was rough.
Well, Rodney, what do you remember about the Delaware game?
I want to say one of the things that get overlooked that year and what kind of prepped us for a game like this was us playing West Virginia and shutting them out in the first quarter. They had multiple first-round picks on that team. Our defense was basically like our second game running that 4-2-5 scheme that we just implemented the past spring. So playing them, Chris Henry, KJ Harris, shutting them down and not having them not score a point in that game and not score like a passing touchdown on us kind of prepped us to what we were going to see from Delaware, because they had those same type of guys. 6'3", 200 pounds, all of them can run. Also had that transfer safety from Notre Dame who chose
Notre Dame, yeah.
But that was his choice. One of the plays that really holds true to my heart is when I got beat on a screen and go, and somebody's little brother in this group saved my behind and saved us from scoring a 55-yard touchdown. Tony Lezotte. My gosh, that was like one of the best plays I've ever seen him make when he came off the hash, batted that ball, because that was easily a 50 to 60-yard touchdown.
Easy, yeah.
Their offensive line, they truly look like NFL linemen. But we were able to, and I got to give praise to two of my guys, George Barlow, Coach West. They were prepping us for that game. They were like, yo, these dudes are going to come and they can play. They're going to gain a lot of yards, but all we got to do was stop them in the red zone. And that's what we end up doing. So Barlow and West prepped us for that. We played hard, special teams, defense. We tried to stop them, but hey, they got to the 20 and couldn't score. That's on y'all. We'll take that every day, all day. But those dudes, they looked the part when they stepped on the field. I didn't see them on the sideline because I was too busy trying to prep for the next series because we knew they was going to go 60 yards on us and we need to But yeah, those dudes looked the part, and that probably was the best team. That probably was the best team. The best team we played at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to listen to Coach Hemphill's interview, we did him on the Sound Off about a month or two ago. He was on the staff at Delaware, and he talks about how crazy the stadium was and how hard it was to play you all. So it was interesting now that he's coaching at JMU, but he said that's one of the most memorable games he was ever coaching in was the 2004 game against JMU when he was on Delaware staff. So if you want to listen to it, you can. We also interviewed Mickey in April, and all he does is talk effusively about how great you guys are. But let me turn it over to Michael and let him ask you some questions.
One thing, I was at Wake Forest visiting Coach West, and there's a lot of guys from the CAA back in the day that's on that Wake Forest staff. If you look under Dave Clawson.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy grabbed me, and he was like, "You aren't number 22, are you?" And he coached at Delaware. I was like, "Nah." He's like, that number 22, I couldn't stand in that game. And he was talking about Bruce. So that just goes to show, like, that game meant a lot to a lot of people.
So so this is not a jab against the other co-hosts, but I am a bit younger than Steve, John, and Taylor. But I got to JMU in 2008, and I remember everyone was still talking about the 04 championship. Everyone was saying that the national championship was done. This was going to propel us to greatness. It was going to start a rocket ship, which honestly, like 20 years later, right, we're seeing some of that come to fruition. For some of our younger listeners, tell us a little bit of what was it like home games at Bridgeforth at the time? Like, what was the culture around sports? And like, I think this was a time when Mickey was starting getting people to come to the stadium, and I think it was like 15,000 every home game. Like, what was life like in 04 as like as a fan for JMU sports?
Oh yeah, we got to go back to 04 before.
You got to go before.
Hey, hold on. So I'm gonna raise my hand. I want to answer first because in fall of 2000, my parents and Alan Harrison's parents were the only people tailgating in the baseball parking lot. Like, literally, the only people. And I was like, damn, and after most of those games, I was about ready to go tailgate with them after the game. But no, to watch that thing grow up and really turn into something. And it starts with that. It starts with the fan base. It starts with, Parents Weekend not being the most quiet weekend of them all, and back in 2000, 01, 02, you're like, golly, man, Parents Weekend's this weekend. Yeah, it's going to be a big crowd, but it's going to be quiet, right?
Quiet.
And we started having these crowds kind of buying in and seeing how close we were to winning some of these games. And it's just great to see. And then when Tony was coaching, and even playing, going up there and visiting and just seeing how it had blown up and people wearing purple and it's everywhere, right? And so I've multiple times I've been in the Savannah airport taking a trip and somebody's rolling through wearing a JMU sweatshirt. And you're like, go Dukes, and you start having a conversation with somebody. And so a lot of pride was built for the school that a lot of folks didn't have back before that.
Right.
It just really wasn't there. You couldn't see. It was probably there. You couldn't see it as much.
Mm-hmm. No, that's so true, right? Like I just took a trip out west to like Yellowstone, and I'm out in Colorado and Montana, and I get a couple of Go Dukes at an airport or just in these random places just because I have like JMU shorts on, right? So it's just it's amazing how much the brand has grown since then. Anyone else have any inputs from back then as well?
Well, after 04-05, I started working there. Like, you can see the crowds elevate. Like when they played Appalachian State, what was that? 2000.
It was was that 8? That was 08.
That was my freshman year.
2008. Then they played Montana. Oh my gosh! Like you couldn't fit people into the stadium. And we're talking about 2003. Our last game of the season versus Northeastern is maybe 8,000 in the stadium, all saying a certain chant, but.
I vividly remember that one. Oh God!
But that quickly changed after the 04 season, and fans started to become involved. And then, like, just seeing the growth of it when my brother got here in 06, just people just, hey, JMU football. Even in Philadelphia, when we used to go back home, they started, JMU started to building his name on the Eastern region. It was just great to see, and like seeing them go from 15 to 20 to 25,000 over the years that I've worked there. It was just it's phenomenal to see.
I remember it was like 2011. It was my junior year, first quarter when they opened up the stadium and they did their JMU Dukes chant, and the whole stadium, all 25,000 people went Dukes at the same time, and it was this like bellow and bass that it felt like, I don't mean this against anyone, it felt like a big college football game, and it was just like so surreal as a student. It was amazing. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, and obviously we got kids listening on the show. Well, let's keep it as PG as possible, but I'd love to go around the horn of like maybe your favorite or funniest like Mickey moment or Mickeyism that was shared behind the scenes. And Isaiah, I'd love to hear from you too, because I know you coach. I believe you coached with Mickey as well afterwards. So love to get to hear how that was, what that experience looked like too.
Coach Matthews, great guy all the way around. But just during coaching with him, it was definitely an experience playing for him. The story that I have was coming in my freshman year. Literally, I've been on campus for about 3 months, and we're going through spring practice, and I didn't read the run play correctly. And he's already told me he was ready to send me back to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I just played like my third snap of college football. But that's just something. He was just letting you know. He was just got to let you know, like, hey, like, you're better than this. We didn't bring you here to do this. Like, you got to come in and do a heck of a lot better than what you're doing. But granted, I was trying to replace a All-American linebacker that was throwing people out of the way with one hand. A very difficult job, but he set a bar high. That's what he did. But that was my story, just telling me that I had to go back home. Literally my third, like college snap, I had to go. I was ready to go home. So
that's awesome.
I'm sifting through so many Mickey moments.
Oh, there's a lot.
I would tell you, we knew we grew up. It was one dinner in the 04 season. And usually when Mick gives his little pre-dinner speeches, everybody's sitting there quiet because we know he's going to say something. And I love Mick. He treated me great. I love him. I don't have
this is main.
Yeah. He's going to say something and you got to sit there and just take it. And it's going to be off the cuff. But he said, I forgot what he said. We looked at Mick and we all started laughing. He's like,
tomorrow you're going to find out if you talk or do.
And that I think at that point Mick realized like we were a senior group. Like we got who he was, we understood who he was, and we just was like, you know what, we get you, Mick, we got you, and we went out there and won that game, and that was a tough and close game as well. But yeah, Mick, you just got to be prepared because you know he's going, and he says it. He's like, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but
right.
And then he goes on and says it. But yeah, Mick's great, man. We got a lot of quotes, but we're not using them here.
Yeah.
It's over to you. You're on the top left of my screen.
It's, like I said, it's a lot of stuff that, like Rod said, it's probably not meant for this audience. One of a few that really stick out. I remember, I think it was, it might have been the 02 season. It was during the 02 season. And Mick he had come in, had just come off of a rough season, the 01 year. And then I think we had dropped a couple games the 02 year. And there was a receiver by the name of Mike Conley. You remember Mike, Matt? We're sitting in a meeting, and coach comes in, and he starts giving us this kind of like talk about life. And he was like, that was the man, one day you're gonna come in for work, boss gonna come in. Man, you're doing a good job. Get your shit and get the fuck out. You got 30 minutes. And he was like, you think that's bad? You're gonna leave your work after getting fired, and you can get home and find your wife in bed with another man. And Mike Conley goes, Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
Oh gosh. I still almost remember where I was sitting in that meeting room at the time. I remember being in the lobby at the movie theater in 04, the night before the semifinal game. And one of the fans had come up and was patting Mick on the back, man, telling us, man, you guys are awesome. Man, you guys are awesome. You guys are gonna take this. Blah, 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 blah. Mick turns around calmly. He says, hey, Bruce, you see those pats? They turn to knives.
That's classic.
Oh gosh.
Man,
Matt,
I tell you,
there are like two things that I remember that stuck with me, like really stuck with me that Mick said. One of the things was when we would play other teams, he would always say, yeah, you see that guy? We offered him, but we chose you over him. So what are you going to do? Yeah, you see Brian Westbrook? You got his scholarship. I'm like, what? And then another thing is, like, before games, he would be like, are you just going to play your plays to tell your mom and dad that, hey, I played my 3 plays and, I'm good. You saw me in my uniform, blah, blah. Or are you going to give it your all for this game? And, like, that really stuck with me because, like, yeah, when you're a freshman, you're like, yo, I look nice in my uniform. My mom and dad took some pictures of me out on the field. I played, 2 or 3 plays on special teams. I'm good. Like, even though we lost by 30, I'm good. And he tried his best to get rid of that type of mindset. And that always stuck with me through every game. Like, I don't care who's in the stands. I don't care who's watching me. I'm going to play my hardest every game.
I tell you, I admire the guy. He was like a second dad to me. And, I think the one thing that stuck out to me, listen, a lot of these guys didn't get the damn ass chewing that I got from him a lot of times on those Saturdays. But I sat in his office in 04 and, just had a very adult conversation with him. And it's funny when you have respect for a guy and he has respect for you, and you can really start to feel the love. And I might not have been able to see it in front of my face right then, but be able to see the love and feel the love and understand. That was probably one of his greatest attributes is making guys feel like that. And I think a big reason that my brother came to JMU was because of my loving admiration for Coach Matthews. You know, the big part of it is he held us accountable now. He checked us and, you know, sat me down a lot and was like, you know, Matthew, he always called me Matthew. He'd be like, Matthew, you gotta make some tough choices. You know, it's like, you gotta say some tough things. As he was rubbing his chin, you know, and you're sitting across from that table from him, and you're like, oh hell. But you know, it's we laugh about it because I'll get to telling a story to my current football team, and I look in the back and Tony's sitting there just shaking his head because I'm telling him one of Mickey's pregame stories, and he's just shaking his head, and he's like, oh no, here we go. You better use those talents, boys.
Yeah, he would just randomly come up to me, Rodney, you played 70 plays, and I think 30 of them were soft. And he wouldn't say it like that.
24 karat.
24 karat. That's a classic. That's a classic.
Hit him with your purse, man. Hit him with your purse.
Hit him with your purse. Couldn't block my wife.
Well, guys, I kind of wanted to bring it full circle because of the four of us, I'm probably the one that's going to talk the most, even though people want to hear you, because I'm not only am I so nostalgic for this team and what that 04 team meant, but I like to put things in context sometimes. And, you know, we talk about the stadium was built by the production of that 04 team. But, you know, I just think of the role that college football plays at JMU right now, the national profile JMU has, and the benefit of a lot of the other sports have. I think personally of my life, I'm no longer in college athletics, but I spent over a decade in college athletics and a career that was motivated by what you all did. And, you know, the four of you on this screen are some of the most impactful players, but really I could say that about almost anyone that took the field that year. And earlier, Matt, you were talking about you and Justin and the guys were talking about your leadership. I don't know if you're, what side am I on? If you're not watching the podcast, if you're listening to this, you're not going to see this, but behind me, there's a news article. It's the front page from that 04 championship. This is the Virginia Pilot down in Hampton Roads, but that's the Associate Press picture that every paper in the country picked up to talk about the national championship. And that's not Justin Riscotti that the fans are hoisting on their shoulders. That's Matt Lezotte. And I think that says so much of not just the team knowing the role you played, but this fan base knew the role you played. You were a 3-year starter. They knew who you were. And I think they understood the role that you played in this team was as important as anyone that was starting that year. And that's why that picture to me is so nostalgic. And, you know, so I think you guys know, and I hope you do. And I hope that they do a really good job with this 20th anniversary, really highlighting this team, because you guys have impacted the lives, careers, the region of the Shenandoah Valley and Harrisonburg in ways that you probably know, but you probably will never know the full extent of that impact. So I'll kind of go game by game with some of the things that each of you kind of stand out to me. Rodney, I'm going to start with you because I think someone asked you earlier about what you remember for that Delaware game. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of surprised you didn't mention the punt return. And really, that punt return by Cortez doesn't happen without you taking out 3 or 4 guys at the end of that return. Was that you or was that Clint?
Nah, that was Clint.
That was Clint.
Well, yeah, that was Clint. Well, I didn't block anybody on that punt return. I was saying like, well, you know, on the right screen.
You know what? As I was saying that, I said that might have been Clint. To my defense, if you go back and watch that footage on YouTube, you definitely know that y'all did not play in the era of high definition football. So But Rodney, I mean, you were such a key player, and not only that, but your legacy here is, I mean, you helped recruit your brother to JMU. I mean, talk a little bit about that and what that was like when he was making his decision, because I remember there were multiple FBS schools that were after your brother, and he decided to come to JMU and played a major role in some of those teams with Rodney Landers.
Yeah. After we won the championship, really Coach Davis was the one, rest in peace to him, who saw talent in my brother and put him on Coach Matthews' like board or whatever. When he was in like the 9th grade, he was like, look, Rodney got a little brother that can play. I'm watching him. We'll see where he goes. And he told Coach Matthews about him. So my brother actually has been around the program since I've been around the program. He's came there. He's met people. When I bring people to Philadelphia, that's one of the first people they would meet is my little brother. Everybody know how close we are. He had Wisconsin, Cincinnati, Syracuse, all the Northeastern 1AA schools after him. But Coach Durden and Coach Matthews, they were on it. Like, they knew they had a chance at him. But I kind of knew he wasn't going to pick any of those schools. He was going to come to JMU. So, and that's just the way. And he came to JMU just based on the way that they treated me. Mm-hmm. So, and like when you look at other brothers that join JMU, that's the main reason why they come to JMU, the atmosphere and the way the coaches treated us. Coach Matthews called me the day before signing day, was like, what's up with Rock? I was like, what you mean? He's like, what school is he going to choose? He's like, do I need to take a 4 or 5 hour drive to go talk to him tonight? And I was like, nah, man. Nah, you good. And Coach Darren was like in the background, like, okay. I was about to get in the car. And I was like, oh, nah. But he see the love that I have for JMU, and he wanted to be a part of that. And now everybody refers to me as Rock's brother. And I'm like, he don't have a national
Join the club.
But that's all good, man. I love JMU. They did great things for me and my brother. I got to see him graduate from JMU. And just to see how they built after that national title game. I wasn't expecting that, but man, it just took off and they became on a whole nother level after that national title. So I always hold it true to my heart. You know, me and my DB brothers, Bruce, Clint, Tony, Nick Adams, Rondell, Mike Wilt. So we still stay in touch every now and then. I love those guys. But yeah, it truly meant a lot. And my brother saw that. And that was one of the main reasons why he came to JMU.
Well, I'm glad he did. And Isaiah, so I hope I don't make another misidentification with the Clint Rodney McCarter. But you had some key fumble recoveries both in that Villanova and the William & Mary playoff game, if I recall. Am I correct on that at least?
You are correct on that. Yes, you are correct on that. Yep, it was on a punt. We punted the ball. He muffed it, and I recovered the punt. Yep, you are absolutely correct on that. I mean, that was just some of the plays that we were able to, that we weren't making before that we're now making. So that was a lot of big part of the success in 2004 is just making the plays we weren't making when we were 5-7 and 6-6. So that had a lot to do. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that had a lot to do with the cohesiveness and everything that was going on that year. It's just making the plays we weren't making.
Well, the defense, I mean, if you go back and look at the box score, I mean, we had a great offense, but we weren't, some of these JMU teams the past few years, they would beat games 55-40 and 63-4. I mean, our defense was such a staple. That and the offensive line were really two of the biggest things that I remember from that year, along with the deep running backfield, Justin Riscotti, everything else with it. But now you went on after graduating, you went on to be on Coach Matthews' staff, correct?
That's correct. Yes, I was on Coach Matthews' staff for 7 years.
So talk a little bit about that transition. And obviously, I mean, I think that says a lot about Coach Matthews, but talk about transitioning from playing under him to coaching beside him.
I mean, from playing to coaching is a huge difference. I definitely didn't realize how many hours went into it behind the scenes, getting there at 6 o'clock in the morning and then not getting off until about 10 o'clock at night. So didn't realize that the days were going to be that long in terms of preparation and walks and film and coaching and running a meeting room and all the things that kind of went into it. I never thought that so much went into a game plan or so much went into just preparing your kids in a position meeting. never realized what went into, you know, planning your individual period, going through practice and all that stuff, you know, and being able to do that and learning from guys like Coach Barlow and Coach Price and Coach Gillenwater. I mean, it was just a phenomenal staff to be able to learn from all of those guys to kind of prepare me where I am now with coaching with Coach Gillenwater. But it was a big transition. I'll tell you that. And especially sometimes having to drive, you know, 6 hours to go pick up film and then drive back and then go break it down as soon as I get back.
Yeah,
So,
I remember you doing that.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so didn't know how to do a lot of that too, you know. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you have any advice for someone like, you know, Sam Daniels, who has come back? You know, he's not coaching under the same coach that he played under, but former player at JMU, coming back, becoming a part of the coaching staff. You know, what advice would you kind of give out, or just kind of some of the experience you had going forward?
I mean, just be yourself and get your work done. I mean, that's really what all I can say. I mean, whatever task they asked me to do, I just jumped at it and I just did it. You know, I knew that what they were trying to do was just make me better. So whatever they asked me to do, I just went at it. You know, God bless Coach Barlow being able to take some time, you know, when we be done with the day, to teach me some things so I can learn. You know,
right.
You can draw up stuff a lot on a board, but if you can't teach it to the guy that's going to play, it really doesn't matter. So just being able to show me how to coach a kid and make sure it makes sense to them, because they used to tell us all the time, I'm not the one out there playing. Right. So it doesn't matter, you know. And Coach West used to say it all the time, and Rodney would tell you, he said, my kids like Jordans too.
Kids like Jordans too.
They like Jordans too. So he wanted to make sure that you were prepared out there. And I give a lot to them for just saying, hey, we're going to do everything to try to prepare you to go out there and coach somebody else's kid and be successful, you know. So I definitely I really appreciate Coach Matthews and being able to bring me on staff, because I was kind of in a place where I didn't know what I wanted to do. So definitely blessed to be able to have Coach Matthews bring me on staff and, you know, and teach me a new way of life, because honestly, it changed my life in a completely different direction where it could have gone. So definitely, you know, bless Coach Matthews for being able to do that for me.
Well, and Bruce, I want to come to you next. You know, a game that for whatever reason, and it might be because I don't believe it was televised, that kind of gets overlooked, but was also one of the most important games that season, was that first round playoff game against Lehigh, where I believe you were 2 of the 11 sacks that were had in that game. I mean, there are teams that play an entire season that don't have 11 sacks, and we totaled up in that game. And the thing that stands out for me, I know it was on the defensive side, but we talked about this in a previous episode where, you know, there was that goal line stand where I think we had 7 or 8 chances to get it in from like the 3-yard line, because there were 4 downs. Then there was a personal foul at that 4th down again, and had another 4 downs to get it in there. And, you know, but that game was really known for the defensive effort, coming off of I believe Lehigh was top 15. I think they were 15th in the country or something around there at that point. So talk about that game as the defensive effort of that, and how it really set the tone for what would become one of the greatest playoff runs of all time.
That game is always it was interesting. Like, being a part of that game, at no point did I really feel like we were going to lose that game. It wouldn't have known that the game, we ended that game 14-13, but like, I felt like we had control over it. And I felt like we're constantly, obviously with 11 sacks, we were making plays on defense. We just couldn't figure out like how we couldn't create some separation. And it was weak, because that game literally came down to like that last series. And one of the things that really sticks out, and I talked to Coach West about this, I think it was last summer. They're driving, and they had a big tight end that I think Adam Bergen, played for the Cardinals. And we had like an absolute mismatch. Like, we're in zero coverage, and Adam Bergen's like 6'5", and obviously I'm not very vertically gifted. And I remember Mickey yelling from the sideline. He was like, "Bruce, go." And I looked at him like, like crazy. Like, the hell you talking about? Like, we're zeroed out across the board. And he was like, go. He started emphatically pointing, like, go. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And luckily I was able to make the play because Adam Bergen was running down the field. As we say, bare ass. It wasn't a soul near him. But I think that game kind of just like really set the tone of us just finding a way to win. Like collective team effort. Whenever there was a play to be made, somebody stepped up because the momentum kept swinging back and forth, and when it, at every turn, like somebody was making a tackle, somebody was causing a fumble. Man, we picked up some really key first downs too to go ahead in that game too. And it was just really one of those things that I think we all collectively just had faith that, even if I don't make the play, somebody else is going to make the play. And I think that kind of just was put on display that game and found a way to, pull it out. But it's just really weird because I really at no point felt like we were going to lose that game.
Right.
Yeah, that game for me was personal because I'm from the Philadelphia area. And anytime we play any of those schools that didn't send me a letter, two of the guys on that team that started, Eric Rath, he was the starting running back. I was trying to take his head off every play. We played against him in high school. They beat us by a touchdown. He caught a screen for 80 yards. And then the starting safety, Paloma Carwell, he beat us. He was at Central High School. He beat us in the playoffs my senior year. When we went back up to Lehigh and we caught that first game, that was a personal game for me. Anytime we played them or Villanova or Richmond, it was personal for me. So I appreciate that. I appreciated that when, like, as soon as we were done, we got cheesesteaks, and I was so excited because beating those teams up there really was a thrill for me.
Well, Matt, I'm coming to you last. I'm doing this on purpose because not only are you kind of the capstone of this interview, but like I referenced with that picture behind me, that picture is kind of the capstone of that season. And that right there was gifted to me by my parents Christmas of 2004. And I've taken it to every dorm room, every apartment. And 20 years later, it's sitting behind me right here. And I think it's so iconic, the photo and the story behind it. And so part of me is this is kind of a bucket list item to ask you this. Talk about that photo, and in that moment, just the culmination of your time at JMU, the 2004 season, the national championship, and you're getting hoisted up on everyone's shoulders and become the picture that really defines the national championship in papers across the country.
Well, it was a special season, right? I had a front row seat to watch it all. I did not play much. I didn't play much at all, and wasn't used to it. And so utilizing that time really to take in these other guys on the field also. I watched more defense that season than I may have ever watched. And I don't know if you remember this, Rodney, but we're walking out for captains in Chattanooga, and I stopped, and I turned around, and I looked at you guys, and I said, "Hey, boys, y'all go win a national championship for me, man."
Yeah.
And the look that I got from those three guys, and then we turned around, the streamers went flying. I was like, "Oh shit, it's on now! It's on now! It's about to happen." And it was one of those things. It was kind of a surreal moment, like I remember leaving the stadium that night more than I remember being hoisted. I think I was kind of like, what, how do we celebrate? How do we do this? I found Justin at the end of the game, and then that ended up happening. And really it was cool. Right. But then I didn't think anything of it. And then I remembered walking up the path, leaving the stadium, and turn around and looking, and just like, man, this is what it feels like to be a champion your last game. Like this is what it feels like. And I felt as fulfilled as I could imagine being a guy that played 50, 60 snaps a game, right? Like I felt that. seeing these guys go out and play and win it for us. You know, we talk about love a lot, program culture and whatnot. And so I've studied it a lot. And then looking back on it, you know, we had agape love, you know, that love for one another, that there's nothing that holds you back, like willing to sacrifice whatever it takes. And we had that. And it was just, it was a surreal experience. You know, it was being able to see my brother play, and have a wonderful year, being able to watch these other guys grow. I was out at practice one day, and Coach Matthews came up and he gave me a coaching point early in my career about flicking my wrist on the run. And I looked over, and Rodney Landers he kept on sprint. I kept on throwing the ball and skipping it, right? And I said, Coach Matthews, why don't you go over there and give him the thing? He said, you're going to be a coach one day. Why don't you go over there and tell him? And so, so I'll take credit for him being a pretty good quarterback, you know. So, but you know, it's just those small moments, you know. And these guys, they may remember, y'all. I don't know if I walked to practice at all that year. I hitchhiked every single day, and I think I got picked up by somebody different every single day, and I just hang out and then I'd hitchhike. And Coach Newsom like, Lezotte, you can't do that. I was like, Coach, come on, man, just let me do it. And he never said another word.
But I will say this: we had a team vote for captains. Was it midseason?
It was right at the playoffs.
Yeah, we had a team vote for team captains, and like right before the playoffs. And Matt, I think, had the most votes for team captain.
Yeah, no question.
It was a landslide. It wasn't even close. And I think Coach Matthews made it known that it wasn't close.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just tells you how our team felt about Matt.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys and having the chance to talk with you, because I talked about how nostalgic that season was. A lot of those games, most of those games were not on television. And I can vividly remember where I was in the room I was in, listening on the radio to that Maine game, to that Villanova game, to the West Virginia game. And then all of the home games are very vivid in my imagination. And I know I probably don't speak for every JMU fan, but I feel like I speak for a lot of them that, we've had a lot of great teams at JMU, the first FBS, the first top 25, the other national championship team. But until a team wins a national championship at the FBS level, for me, I just think the importance of that team and the culmination of it just will not, it will have to take that to equal the impact that you guys had on JMU, not just football, but JMU athletics and the school as a whole. So enjoyed talking with y'all, and I'm going to kick it back to John.
Yeah, and I'm gonna come right from what Taylor said, because I think the ultimate gift that you guys gave this fan base is you told everybody in the JMU world that it's okay to believe in this program. I lived in Eagle Hall my freshman year, came into JMU, a pretty big sports fan, and I remember trying to convince my roommates and suite mates and people around me, hey, you only got to walk 100 feet to get in the stadium. That this shouldn't be a hill that's too hard to climb. And every year we got more to come. But I remember telling people, and they thought I was crazy. Hey, we're building towards something. We're building towards something. And then when it actually happened, now some of those fans who doubted me at every turn have season tickets, and they're bringing their kids back. That doesn't happen without you turning on the light switch for this fan base and saying, look, you don't have to be a Virginia Tech fan. You don't have to be a UVA fan. If you go to JMU, you could be a JMU fan. And that to me is your lasting legacy, is that there are 25,000 people plus everyone who's out in the parking lots every Saturday in the fall because of what you did. And I think of not only that, but the amount of friendships that have been able to be sustained through weekends in Harrisonburg, and the connective tissue that has now been built through this fan base can draw direct lines to what you guys did in 2004. And I think the mark of an amazing season is that we didn't even touch on the game against Furman, which to me, I still think is the most unbelievable game of that season. Raymond Hines,
no doubt.
And that, man,
Yes.
what a game. I will say my story for that season is getting off the student bus at Furman. We're walking to the stadium right as the Furman fan base is praying. And it's an anecdote that's in the book. It said, I kind of looked up and I was like, oh my God, we're playing God today. Like, it felt like all the people were.
It felt like it on the field too.
Let me tell you, that student Duke club bus had there had been a few cocktails drank on the way down, and you stumble off that bus onto that campus. That was something. And not to mention the game at William & Mary. The eyes of the college football world kind of on us that night. All of Virginia, you had a governor on the sidelines. There were some magical moments, and then my final memory from that season, jumping off the stands in Chattanooga to rush the field, and it was a lot further of a jump than you realized. But you felt like you could fly, and that was because of what you guys did. So guys, we've taken an hour plus of your time, but we just want to say thank you one more time. And what happens this fall is so well deserved, and I know some of your teammates will be there, and it will give you guys another opportunity to share stories like this. And I hope you revel in the moment and really embrace it, because all the praise that's going to come your way is well deserved, and I'm hopeful that all of you get to experience it, even if you can't be there in some capacity with your families, and just really cherish the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Sure do appreciate it. Thank you guys for loving JMU football so much, man. Like this is special to be part of this and to be doing this. So thank you for having us and having me a part of it. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Well, congratulations one more time, and hopefully just this is one of many conversations to come. And with that, we'll bring on the other hosts for a little final thoughts segment. Guys, that was special. I know we said it while they were on, but for anybody who was an early fan of this program, when people said it wasn't possible for it to culminate the way it did in 04, man, what a moment. And to hear these guys still telling their stories the way they are, and having so much joy, we're looking back. That means it was a year for the ages, and it's exciting times. So we'll go around the horn one more time. Michael, your final thoughts.
I think you hit it right there, man. And you hear these guys laughing, right? Isaiah, Matt, just talking about these memories and talking about these plays, and you hear the chemistry, right? It was very natural. They were all there for each other. And when you think of the era of like transfer portal and NIL, you're curious, right? Like, does that still happen? Is that still an outcome that you hope to achieve with a program? And I think that is the key this year for this 2024 team. Coming out of the scrimmage, coming out of the Coach Novak and the rigorous offseason conditioning program, we talked a little about it yesterday at the barbecue. Like, what's going to happen with this team when the bullets are flying? When ODU comes out with their wide gap, spread receivers, sideline to sideline, communication and switch routes and all that, like, what's going to happen in those situations? And I'll tell you, just looking at the roster, having a couple times seeing them in person, I haven't seen a more physically talented JMU roster in quite a while. And we brought in a ton of 4th and 5th year players, but it's the chemistry, it's the communication, it's the ability to gel. That's going to be the key, right? Can we build memories like what we heard tonight of folks laughing and being there for each other? When the bullets are flying, when it's 14 up with 2 minutes left, championship drive to score, and at Georgia Southern or wherever, that's what's going to come down to. So that's my final thought. Like, I'm super excited still for the season. We've got 20 days left. 20 days left. It just hit me until August 31st. And I think we've got the staff to do, we got the players to do, and there's just a lot of excitement and build up in the program. I think it was good to look back to see where it all started with the 04 team.
Awesome. Taylor.
I made this plea after the show we did with D.D. Boxley and Cortez Thompson this afternoon in preparation for the show. The 24-minute documentary of the season that JMU put together, David Taylor was the one that kind of narrated it. Watched it again this afternoon, probably only for the second time in who knows how many years. But tonight it was with my 5-year-old son, and he sat there on the couch and was asking questions because he's at that age now where he knows what the stadium looks like, and that stadium didn't look like it. One thing he pointed out was how empty the stands were in some of those early 2004 games. You hear Mickey talk about this all the time. But it was watching that documentary that just, it brings back all the nostalgia and what you kind of heard me talking about tonight. So I know that footage, that file has to be out there somewhere at JMU, and maybe we take this offline and talk to the folks at JMU. Maybe if we can find that, maybe there's a reason it's not posted. I don't know. But I know they gave it away as a Duke Club gift that year. And one thing, I think it would be so important to the last 20 years of JMU fans, especially a lot of those folks that, Michael's era and folks that came after that and, knew the Coach Houston, the Signetti, and they've seen JMU as this big time program. The stadium's always sold out, and the transition to FBS and top 25 just made natural sense. I think it's really important. I think that video did such a good job of just showing where everything came from and what it is. So if anyone has that DVD, pop it in your DVD player. If you haven't watched it in a long time, you'll get all the feels I did, and hopefully we can find a way to get that back online on YouTube or something someday.
Steve, you're up.
Yeah, what you got tonight for the fan base was a really good look at the springboard for where the program is now. What Matt said to me that really resonated, and you may not have picked it up, but if you didn't, I'm going to tell you. He said they had agape love for each other. And what that means is it's considered the highest form of love, unconditional and selfless devotion. That was that team. That's the team I think we're heading into on August 31st. That's the team I've seen in practice. I don't know what they're going to do, but I can tell you it has a lot of the same tenets of the 2004 team. Now, who knows? The 2004 team is special. Can't know what the 2024 team is going to do, but history does repeat itself. And I can tell you that what they've done tonight for you has set the stage for what could be a very special year for this JMU football team in 2024.
Well, guys, I'll say my last reflection point, and I mentioned a little bit when they were still on, is I can't imagine that I would be making the trips that I make, is not only the away trips, but especially the home trips as well, as many times as I do in the fall without that 04 team. And the amount of people that I've stayed in contact with, the Taylors, the Eric Pitzers, the Zach Prices of the world, all of that happened because of that 04 team, because it gave us a reason to keep coming back. It gave us a reason to buy season tickets. It gave us a reason to tailgate, to have these types of conversations. It gave us the reason to help write a book. And again, I plugged it off the top of the show, but if you came in late, if you really want to see the full set of stories from that 04 team, you can get it on Amazon. Midnight in Chattanooga. James Irwin did a tremendous job putting these stories together, and it really just scratching the surface. And my real hope is as we go into the first couple of weeks of the season that the JMU and other platforms like this really shine the light on these guys, because they were the building blocks to what's not only happened since then, but what's to come. And I will eternally be grateful, because they've given so many of us a gift. And as the front porch of the university is that front porch got a nice coat of paint and a renovation when that 04 team came, because I don't know if our house has anywhere near the value if it wasn't for what they did, and we'll be forever grateful. Wanted to end one last thing, but just saying happy birthday to Coach Chesney as well. We know it was his birthday yesterday, and he got to celebrate it doing what he loves best. So happy birthday to him. One last plug to Champions Drive. Again, you have an opportunity to get that exclusive 48-hour window to purchase one of the 1,200 bottles. Make a donation this week, MontpelierCollective.com. Stay tuned to your emails. The team behind the bourbon doing a good job this week, pushing out some updates for it. They'll have all the information you need to make that purchase. But again, this is really critically important as we try to arm the Montpelier Collective with all the resources they need to keep all of our programs at JMU successful. Again, all the best to our sponsors: Skyline Financial, Where's Woody, Talent Corps, Your Purple Nation, and Shoker Enterprises. With that, and thank you to our fans one more time for spending some of your Sunday night with us. We'll be back again next week, recapping week 3 of the JMU football training camp, as well as bringing on some new players to shine light on what's happening on the field. And with that, we'll end tonight's episode. Thank you, gentlemen, as always, and thank you to our guests. And we'll see you next Sunday, 8 p.m. JMU Sound Off. Go Dukes.